Hey, welcome to Dippy Does It All, the podcast where curiosity meets chaos. And this week, chaos is wearing white balanced sneakers and grilling in the rain. That's right, it's our Father's Day special, and today's episode is dedicated to the man who raised me, shaped me, and occasionally confused me. Introducing my dad, Bob.
Nice. Awesome.
Now, Bob isn't your average dad. He's a hardworking, siren-chasing legend. He took me on fire and rescue calls. When some kids were fishing, I was learning how to secure a perimeter and navigate a smoke-filled trailer. When we weren't saving lives, we were often playing radio station in the living room. If you haven't heard a 10-year-old give a traffic report or key up the song December of '63, oh, what a night, have you even lived? Now, here's the thing about Dad. He gave me the gift of collecting, which is a sweet way of saying he passed down a borderline hoarding gene. Cards, cars, coins, action figures, movies. If it could be shelved, bagged, or alphabetized, I needed it. But God help me, if I left anything on the floor, my toys would vanish like a David Copperfield trick. Only to show up again later because he bought new ones to teach me a lesson. It was confusing, terrifying, and somehow touching. So buckle up for stories, laughs, and a little heart as I reflect on the lessons, the legacy, and the lovable chaos that comes with growing up with a dad like mine. Let's dive in for a Father's Day special. Okay, Dad, how you doing?
I'm good.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. I'm looking around at this collection going, as soon as I leave here, I'm going to check myself into a hoarding clinic. So,
yeah, he's in the brand new podcast studio that we just set up, which is surrounded by all the movies and collectibles that I have been gathering for the many years of my life.
yes, I see that.
And we have lights.
Like the lights.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get started with where it began. Do you have any memories of my birth?
Oh, my. I think I was working that day at the grocery store, and I got the call that she's going into labor, and I rushed home. And if I remember right, I think you refreshed my memory that we got everything in the car, and I was driving off and forgot to put her in the car. So once we got there, we were doing fine. I should have been with being in the fire rescue business. I should have known about the hospital mask, but I tied mine around each ear, so it took me a while to get in there. But I made it, and there she was. So it was all good.
I love it so much. Now, there's been varying reports of how I got my name. Do you remember how I got my name?
I apologize. I don't remember exactly how I got your name.
Okay. Well, Mom says I got my name from a girl that was in Ron's class. A long time ago, you told me that I got my name because you thought it was going to be a boy. Both you and Mom. That was what was going on. You had painted the room blue. When you tried to pick a girl name because you weren't planning on that, you had hesitated. And you said, Lisa. And Mom heard Elisa. That's the story you gave me. And so here I was thinking, that was how I got my name this whole time, but it might have just been a dad joke.
I don't clearly remember that. It sounds a little familiar, but now once again, I think if I spend even 10 minutes with you, it's another clinic I'm going to have to check into.
Oh, it's so good. Do you remember how I was as a baby?
Yeah, you were real good at sleeping. You were a go-getter. I think you probably were the youngest child I ever knew that learned how to crawl out of their crib because I don't know how many thousands of times he'd lay you down, you'd have your eyes closed, and 15 minutes later, he'd come trotting out into the living room. And so one day we had to watch, and you were pretty good about, you couldn't be put in a crib. You were out of the crib. So we had to teach you how to just sleep without the crib so you didn't have to crawl out.
That's great. Can you think of an irrational fear that you passed down to me?
Well, probably. I think it's clowns. And I don't know if we were at a parade or something and a clown approached you and scared the heck out of you. I don't know exactly how that happened, but you did not like clowns. So I don't know if we hung around clowns or tried to hang around clowns when you were little. but I think it was a parade experience that scared the heck out of you.
Yeah, for sure. What parent do you think I'm most like?
Oh, man. Yeah, probably 100% me just by looking around this room right now. But yeah, we spent a lot of time together, so you're probably more like me, collecting and hoarding, and um, you ended up in the medical field, and probably from me chasing and dragging you around in the fire trucks and the ambulances for quite a few years.
That probably goes along with this next question, but what quality or trait did I get from you?
Oh, probably you got the quality of being very socialized. I think I socialized you well because we went everywhere, and and then I just think we were just had enough experiences where your life's experiences took you to where you are.
Yeah. Well, and I think you taught me to be lighthearted, particularly at work. Work hard, but be lighthearted and make it fun,
Yep, absolutely.
as evidenced by sprinting the other day at Huddle.
Yeah, I was a sprinter in junior high. I never could handle high school's track, but I was a sprinter in junior high.
I love that. How about a crazy story of me? Do you have a crazy story?
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to remember when we were out at the air show with the air truck, and you were standing up in the air truck, and I don't remember exactly what went down, but somebody had said something about who's the new recruit or whatever, and I says that's the newest rookie on the Blue Earth County Rescue Squad, and so I guess that's everybody thought that was pretty hilarious.
I think they came, was that 93?
I could
It
be.
was around there,
I
I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
I had that t-shirt up until a few years ago. Obviously, I had to get rid of it because it was small, but I think it said 93 on it. Might have been 92.
Yeah, I would have been in the 90s.
Have I always been interested in Legos?
Yeah, Legos I think got real strong as your years went on, but you were more interested like in Ninja Turtles and the Thunderbirds or Thunderbolts,
yeah.
and more or less the action figures, and now you're really into the Legos.
Do
But
you remember the time we went to Target and there was a hot rod shop that I really wanted, but it was expensive? And I ended up talking you into it. But when we got to the register, it rang up as $1. Do you remember?
I don't remember that one. I wish all our purchases would have rang up at $1. It took me a good 30 years to pay off my credit card that bought you a lot of toys.
Crap. I just remember that, and it was funny because we did make it out of there. The statute of limitations has ended, so we don't have to worry about that.
Trust me, if all the stuff we bought in their store, they made plenty of money off of us.
Yeah, for sure. Do you remember the nicknames that I had?
Probably just the one, Ubu.
Yeah.
Come on, Ubu. What's up, Ubu? But
How did I get that?
I have no idea. We just started calling you Ubu. So
You remember when I was a young teen and you brought me to the mall and we were meeting with friends and I was talking with you about how long I was going to be there with friends and you said, "See you later, oobs." And my friend was like, "Did your dad call you boobs?"
oh,
And I was like, "No, it's ubu."
yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that I remember that because
Oobs.
it was funny. We should talk about our mall shenanigans. You remember when we got that fart machine?
Yeah, I do. And we were having some pretty good fun with it. And what we didn't tell you was that I had a second remote, and we were laughing it up, and we were going into Target, if I remember right. And you were all excited that you were going to, walk around in Target. And as we got into the Target store, I started pushing the button, and you turned around and you were going, Dad, knock it off. And I just kept pushing the button. People were looking all over the place, and you were doing all you could to scramble to get it out of your pocket so you could turn it off. But it was hilarious because you were we left you standing out there all by yourself, and we just kept pushing the button, and people were looking like, what's going on here? So yeah, we nailed you on that one.
You definitely did. When do you recall getting into collecting?
Oh, I suppose you could probably say you were a collector at 3 years old because I mean you bought every I mean if it was trending you had it. Um, so I would say you've probably been collecting darn near your whole life.
Do you remember something that I was chasing after the most?
Oh no, there was so many things that you absolutely wanted. Probably one thing that I can remember that you probably chased after most is when Cabbage Patch dolls were huge and you wanted to have a Cabbage Patch doll and you couldn't find them. And we were lucky enough to know a gal that worked at Shopco in Fairmont. And she said, well, we just put two out a day. And when we open the store, there's two hidden in the store somewhere. Because it was almost physically impossible to get a Cabbage Patch doll unless you knew somebody. And she said, well, they're in the store. We've got them hid. And when we came into the store, she hinted that where one might be. And so we went to that area, and yeah, there was one there. So that was something you really, really wanted. And we worked kind of cheated to get that one, but it was all good.
I can remember when the little tiny G.I. Joes, the small guys, when those came out, we were trying to find every G.I. Joe. I'm pretty certain we went into the toy store and
Yeah.
had them all marked which ones we needed.
Back in the day, some of those collectibles were hard because they only made so many. Like back in the day with the cars and stuff, that there's only 10,000 of that car made and they get spread out all over. And sometimes you get them in your area and sometimes you wouldn't.
Yep.
But yeah, you had to make sure you knew when the store was going to stock and you had to get there. But nowadays, some of these collectible things, they just make more and more and more until everybody gets one. So not as tough anymore.
Well, the Street Sharks are hanging out over there by the Columbia Classics, but I remember trying to get those too.
Yeah, because there was always one or two that were always on the shelf. And then there was that. Back in the day, collecting companies knew that, hey, if there's 5 figures, we'll make a bunch of the 4 and only short number of the 5.
Yeah.
So it was hard to get complete sets on anything back then.
Yeah, for sure. I think you've touched on these already, or I can anticipate what your answer is going to be. But my friend Dennis wants to know what the weirdest thing was that I was into as a child, and he brought up Fraggle Rock or something like that, but he thought it would be neat to hear it from your point of view.
There was a lot of TV shows that we were really into. The craziest thing that I can remember you were into is you were always asking to go down to the fire station, and you look forward to every month when we had to take the backup ambulance out to make sure it's charged up and everything's working. You always want to go along. So it was always like, when are we going to go down to the fire station and ride in the ambulance? So you working at a hospital is pretty spot on.
I thought you were going to say Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, that too.
I really liked that. If I was a flavor of ice cream, what ridiculous name would the flavor have?
Ubu gum.
That is so good. I love gum ice cream, and it's irrational to like it because those gum bits are horrid, but I love that. That's a good one. You liked to cook growing up. What was my favorite thing that you made?
You were a big spaghetti eater, I think, if I remember right. You ate a lot of spaghetti. Otherwise, back then, it was always the simple stuff that kids liked. It was the macaroni and cheese, never got old, and still isn't old. But I think you were a pretty normal kid. It was lots of spaghetti.
I still love spaghetti, to be honest. Now, this one's just for you. What celebrity would play you in a movie?
That's tough. Nothing comes to mind.
I think Will Ferrell would play you really good.
Yeah, probably. Somebody
lighthearted and goofy.
Yeah, something out of a comedian, one of the comedians maybe Weird Al Yankovic.
It could be a movie about DJing.
And they could call it Weird Bob.
I like that. Who do you think would play me in a movie?
Scooby-Doo.
Oh, God, that's great. I really do like to hunt the ghosts, huh?
Evidently.
Do you have a memorable birthday party that was thrown for me?
Well, it certainly wasn't clowns.
You know, Jackie's been scanning in my old baby photos to make them digital. And for 3 years in a row, I had a Big Bird cake. I must have been way into the Big Bird.
I think you were really into probably Sesame Street. Yeah, probably.
If you could take me back to one specific age, what would that be and why?
Take you back to trying to think. You were about what, 3 years old, 4 years old in Fairmont. I would take you back to that age just because we both love the fire station so much, and that was my uh, first real experience of. I was on the rescue squad and stuff in Mankato when we moved to Fairmont, but Fairmont was where I had the real first experiences actually with the fire trucks and stuff. So I'd go back to that day because we always had so much fun in Fairmont with the fire department, with the fire calls, and it was kind of a laid back city at the time.
Hmm. What was your favorite thing about parenting me?
When you got old enough to buy your own stuff.
Oh, that's good. What have you learned about being my dad or from being my dad?
That you paid a lot more attention than I thought you did, because you got 10 times the knowledge I ever would, because I hated school. I was happy as heck to get out of high school, and then I went to trade school, of course, but just all the schooling and stuff you've gone through, it's pretty amazing.
What moment made you most proud of being my dad?
Wow. There's lots of those. I guess probably the biggest one is the day you called and said you passed your nursing. What are
My
they-
boards?
Yeah, you passed your nursing boards and you were well on your way. And then the other one was when I heard that you were going to be working in an emergency room, which I had lots of contact with being in a rescue squad
Yeah.
and helping with a backup ambulance service and stuff. So being around emergencies and emergency rooms, that was pretty cool because I know that's a pretty stressful job. And I think that's a huge one and probably the most that I was most proud of you.
Well, thanks, Dad. When I was little, what did I say I wanted to be when I grew up?
If I remember right, you had talked about being a baker, and I think that's just because I went to baking school, and it's pretty amazing that you like to cook so much, being I went to chef school. But and then when you said you wanted to be a nurse, then it was pretty down to earth that's what's going on. And I think you pretty much want to be a nurse pretty early on just because of what you've been around.
That's mostly my memory. I
Yeah.
don't remember anything before that.
Yeah, mostly wanting to be a nurse.
Do you have any advice for other dads?
Probably just let them run with it. Let them be who they want to be. In when they're young, involve them in what you do, and if whatever they want to do, let them go for it. I never told her what she needed to do or anything like that. And the biggest advice I can give to young dads is when she says she needs that or wants that in the store, don't do it every time. Because I seriously took a lot of years to pay that credit card off. So, good advice, dads. Easy on the collecting, and otherwise, whatever they want to be, help them try to be that.
I love that. Your face was the best. I wish people could have saw that on video. What are your future wishes for our relationship?
That we can get back on track. I mean, there was a long spell there where I was just a disappearing act. And it wasn't because I was a magician or I had magic. It's just got caught up in everyday life like everybody does. And I'm just happy that we're back on track and we can enjoy each other's craziness.
Okay, that's what I had for like straight up questions, but I have just different things that could spark stories.
Okay.
Are there any fun stories from growing up that you want to share from fire calls or being at the fire station? I didn't get into this on the Mother's Day episode, but Mom told me my first swear word came when we were at the fire station. She had come to just drop by for a visit. I was 2, and you guys were watching Airplane. And I guess when the airplane was going down, I said, "Oh, shit." So I don't know if you have
I don't remember that at all.
just fun fire station. I know that I pissed the Boy Scouts off when you guys had the Boy Scouts come for CPR because they were upset that a girl was there. That was before the girls were allowed, obviously.
Yeah. Whenever there was a fire call in the middle of the night, I would call my sister and say, we're coming by. I would hand you off to my sister, and she'd watch it till the call was done. And one night they weren't around or they were gone, and there's pretty major fire up on Madison Avenue. And so I said, well, and once again now I could. It's been a long, long time ago, so I can't go to jail for child endangerment. But I took you with, and I parked right by the fire scene, and you were content to just camp out, and you were going to just go back to sleep. And so you were right there where I could see you. And then one of the rescue squad people had been called out, and they were there. So she was going to hang out by the car and watch you. And then somebody had came by, and you and I can't remember who it was from the rescue squad were keeping an eye on you. Said, where's your dad? And you said something about he's over there fighting the fire. And I think they said he brought you along. And I think your answer was, oh, he always brings me along and leaves me in the car, if I remember right. And it's like, no, I don't. There's always somebody there that I can hand you off to. But, or like when it was the rescue squad, I could hang out at the rescue truck with you, and you could be there while I'm filling air bottles and stuff. So yeah, I think probably the most embarrassing thing was you telling somebody that I always bring you to the calls and leave you in the car. So
I was probably pissed I wasn't helping.
Yeah, as you got older, you got to help. And it really got nice a couple years later, because then when we got on calls, you just went right to the rescue truck, and there was always people there. We were always gathered there, doing what we needed to do. And some of us, in my case, I was a firefighter, so it was Lisa can stay here with us, and you go ahead, and then I'd go help fight the fire. So yeah, it was pretty accommodating. We probably wouldn't have been able to have those experiences without all the people that helped us through it.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think they'd let you do it today.
No, it wouldn't. In today's liability, they'd be freaking out.
I broke a couple of bones, a collarbone and an arm, and I don't have a memory of this, but it was told to me a long time ago, and it just cracks me up, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. I had been pushed off the top of the slide and broke my collarbone, but at the time we didn't know it was broken. When you went to pick me up from the daycare lady said she cries every time we pick her up under her arms. Do you remember telling them, well, don't pick her up under her arms then?
I don't remember that. I think I remember saying something about, oh, she'll be all right. She's tough.
Yeah.
Suck it up. And then, then we realized that there was something major wrong. And so there's another word of advice from to all the dads out there. If your kid is crying and says it really hurts bad, go check it out. We waited, I think, overnight or whatever before we took you in or something like that. So
I'd be curious to know, because I think I went to the ER for that one. It'd be fun to see if Pam was the nurse, because she still works there. How many times did we get McDonald's or Hardee's not to eat the food, but just to collect the toys or the Monopoly pieces?
Sometimes we would drive through in the morning and then drive through at night to see if they had a different one. Otherwise, probably it was like every 3 days, I think, or so. They were so popular that they would switch. So we probably went to McDonald's 4 or 5 times a week. So, yeah.
And I told the Monster of Meadow Lane with the albino gorilla suit story. Do you have any other stories to share of different suits?
I don't know why I bought that. I think it was just cool. It's just one of those collectible kid kind of moments where I think I got to have this as an adult. I still have the mask.
You do?
Yeah, I have the mask, but I should dig that out and give it to you. But I don't have the whole body anymore because I don't fit in it. I don't remember what happened to the whole thing. But
what about your Easter rabbit story?
The Easter Bunny suit was just loaned to me every year to be the Easter Bunny. I was the Easter Bunny at the grocery store, and then the Fairmont Downtown Association wanted me to be the Easter Bunny for downtown. And so I was downtown as the Easter Bunny greeting people and handed out Easter eggs. And we got a fire call, and the fire station is just a block away from downtown Fairmont. And so the Easter Bunny ran to the fire station. And my first years with the fire department was definitely good old fashioned firefighting, because we rode on the tailboards 2 people jumped in the front of the truck, and then the rest of us rode on the back. So there was either 2 or 3 on the back all the time. So I grabbed my gear, didn't have time to put it on, so I threw my gear on top of up into the hose bed and jumped on the truck and strapped on, and off we went. So thank God it was a false alarm, but as we're on our way to the fire, I'm hanging off the back of the fire truck waving at people in a bunny suit. So, and then the Fairmont Sentinel got a hold of it, and there was a picture on the front page of the newspaper the next day of the Easter Bunny en route to emergency wave. And so there's a picture of me on the back of the fire truck.
That's pretty great because back then people didn't have cameras in their pockets.
No.
So that was pretty lucky.
Only the news media would have pictures.
Yeah, that's great. I'm trying to think if there's anything else with you suit related. Oh, you were the McGruff dog.
Yeah, I was a part-time police officer, so I was McGruff a couple times. That was pretty cool. Anything I've always been out in the public, and if I got a chance to do something and shine a little bit, I'm kind of that way. I like that. I like seeing celebrities, I like meeting new people. I like meeting people that have high authority or whatever, because it's just cool. I just feel like I want to be rounded and just know all kinds of people.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to talk about all the nights at the roller skating rink? And you were...
Oh, back in the 70s.
Robert Lawrence. You should do your radio voice, Dad.
I was actually Bob Lawrence.
Oh, Bob Lawrence. Okay.
Yeah, and you never wanted to give your full name because, let's see, it would have been 1974. I was a junior, and then 1975 I was a senior in high school. So in 1975, really got going up there, and a couple of us got popular at the roller rink. And you had to be very careful not to have your full name where they could call you, because it was one of those things where you just didn't want everyone trying to get a hold of you or sending you weird message, or not messages, because we didn't have it back then. Our phones were on a cord still. So, but if that roller rink was still there, I'd still be there working. And because of the roller rink, I have my own DJ company and have done it for 15 years now. And love it. And so I never really gave it up. And the thing about the roller rink was it was so cool to have people out there skating and doing DJ work. We did it with 45s. We were still spinning discs back then. So we all had all our DJs up there. We had our own boxes of records, and we played 45s. And to this date, as soon as I got my DJ company, as soon as I went computerized, I have probably every 1975 through 80 of music that I played at the roller rink, and I call it my roller rinks collection, and I have them all on my computer, and I listen to that music yet today. That was a cool experience, and I don't know if I can do this very well, but I'll try. Welcome to Friday night, and I'm Bob Lawrence, and we're broadcasting tonight, and we're playing the music for you here at Skating World. We're glad you're here. Remember, we want you to take it easy. Don't be skating too fast out there. We'll try to do our best to make the records played for you that you want to hear. Lots and lots of great deals there out at the snack bar. We got great buys on popcorn. Don't forget to buy that hot dog right here at Skating World. Welcome to Friday night, fun night, right here at Skating World in Mankato. My name's Bob Lawrence. It's party time. Let's get some skating.
Then it's do 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 do. I remember December 63. I loved that song.
Yeah, I would assume that if I looked on my computer right now, I've probably played that at least 200 or 300 times.
So good.
But.
And we used to play radio station in the apartment, and I remember that was one of the go-tos.
Yep.
And you said we would do traffic reports.
Yep.
Weather reports.
And playing that worked out too, because when I worked at Skating World, there was a few companies that wanted me to record their commercials. And if I remember right, that was pretty cool, because you'd go out to the radio station that they wanted to put it on, and you would record the commercial, and you get paid $25. And back in the 70s, that was a lot of money. So I'm trying to remember. I think I can remember it. What Feldman's Incorporated has is experience in John Deere equipment and repair. Feldman's Equipment has all the great deals on John Deere equipment. Stop out at Feldman's today at John Deere out on Highway 22 in Mankato. Let Feldman's be your John Deere dealer.
It's so good. When the mall opened up, wasn't I on the radio riding the carousel? Didn't I take a ride on the carousel and talk about it on the radio?
I think so.
I think you got that hooked up because
Yeah,
you're friends with all those radio guys.
yeah, there was a lot of times where had a lot of good friends in radio, and like, hey, you should be doing some commercials for these guys. They want different voices, and all the years working with Tom Yenish, we got to do a lot of cool things. Probably the biggest memory of Skating World was one night snow started coming in. We got everybody out of there because Skating World was quite a ways out of town, if you remember right, out in a field. So it was snowing really hard. Everybody got out of there, and we were cleaning up, and we realized that we weren't going to get out of there. So there was four of us that stayed at Skating World, and Tom had his apartment there, and then he had a guest room or whatever for his buddies to stay. And so we all stayed overnight. The next morning, we snowmobiled in the open fields that were out there by Skating World. So we spent the whole day snowmobiling after the snowstorm, and we were stranded at the skating rink, and that was awesome fun. He had a couple rollaway beds out there that we would sleep on when we hung out with him, and we had those out on the skating floor, and we had bed races, and we just had a good old time. And like I said, I wish there was still skating today, but with the world of liability, it's almost physically impossible to own a roller rink. I think there are a couple still open in Minnesota, but it's just not worth it anymore. If you could get people to come there and take responsibility for themselves, I'm sure there would be one, but there's just too much going on in the world today to not have one. But yeah, I think young people don't realize what they're missing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, and I think that I remember going there quite a bit, learning how to roller skate, rollerblade, doing all the things, pinching your fingers in those toilet seat races. It was a way of life, and kids don't have that.
And that's what turned me on to have music system and do my own. And then you're a light person, and so am I, because I probably have one of the nicest light shows around here. It's big, and when I got my system, they told me go big or go home, and I went big, and I still went home. So
This is one of my favorite stories that I recall when you would fix a lot of stuff around the house. And I remember you were fixing the garage door because Mom put a hole in it with the hitch of the car. Do you remember when you forgot it was halfway down and you knocked yourself out? Because I remember when you woke up, you were so upset I hadn't called anyone for help.
yeah, I was doing something, and I said, I'll be right back. And I turned around and kabang. And all I remember is laying on my back, opening my eyes, and you were standing there like, well, and I said, did you call anybody? Did you run to the neighbors or anything? I don't even remember it completely. And I just kind of shook off the cobwebs and went, man, that was stupid.
Yeah, I don't think you were out long enough for me to have to run.
It just made me lightheaded, and I was right back, I think. So.
Yeah. It's just funny because we spent all that time at the rescue squad and the fire department, and you get hurt, and I just stood there.
He'll
Hello?
come to.
You okay?
You probably leaned over and went, come on, suck it up.
Yeah. Cry in the back of the car, you big baby.
Oh.
Another one of my favorite memories is when we would drive. You'd put me on your lap and we'd drive around the free lot.
Oh, yeah, I taught you how to drive at 5 years old.
Yep.
And I still have a few police friends. That's probably the last time I'll ever say that again.
Well, it's funny.
But yeah, it was in a private lot. We had a good time.
No one was there. It's funny, though, because they all learned on the Mother's Day special that I didn't get my driver's license till I was 17.
Well, and it was tough on you because my pickup was straight stick.
Yeah.
And I remember when you get your learner's permit, you jumped in the pickup, and I think the first time you let off the gas, you let it off right and everything, but you had the gas on, and we were in a gravel parking lot, and it was just gravel flying out the back. You spinning the wheels, and I said, "Stop, stop, stop!" But yeah, you learned to squeal your tires at an early age.
Yep. I just didn't get the license because I didn't have a way to pay for it.
Yeah.
Easier to not have the pressure if you don't have it.
Yeah.
Well, any other stories you want to touch on?
No, I'm sure we've refreshed plenty. Otherwise, I mean, like, if I can tell anybody anything, help your kids be independent because things change day in and day out. And Lisa was independent, I think, from the time she could walk. Well, she was independent before that because she just knew how to work it. But just live life and let your kids go. Let them do what they can do, and be proud of them. So, and I'm very proud of her for what she does and who she is, and keep on shooting for the stars.
Well, I think one of the reasons why we're surrounded by a couple thousand movies is because at the young age, you let me walk to the rental store and rent 3 movies and come back and watch them while you were at work. And then you'd get off work and we'd go on adventures. Next day, repeat.
Well, I'm looking around right now going, now I know why Blockbuster is no longer around. You don't need Blockbuster anymore.
Yeah, no, you don't. Awesome. Well, that's a wrap on this Father's Day special of Dippy Does It All. From smoke-filled trailers to living room radio shows, from vanishing toys to vanishing patience. Thanks, Dad, for giving me stories worth telling and quirks worth keeping. To all the dads out there rocking grass-stained sneakers, fixing things with duct tape, suspiciously overstocked garages, and unmatched levels of practical wisdom, this one's for you. Don't forget to hug your dad, call your dad, or raise a cold one to his memory, whatever fits your story. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep it curious, keep it chaotic, and remember, if something's missing, check the top shelf. Catch you next time on Dippy Does It All.
Happy Father's Day, and that's a wrap.
I love it.